All right. Betty, I will let you take it away.
Okay, so thank you everyone for attending. Today will be my first meeting for chair. So bear with me because it is the first, but I have a nice agenda I shared with everyone. I hope that you got it. And we'll go into it a little more in detail. So just to start off, introducing myself, my name is Betty Renzulli. I work at the Easton Area Public Library. I'm head of the circulation department. I have worked at the Easton Area Public Library for 26 years. I started when my daughter entered kindergarten, and now her daughter is in kindergarten. So it's been a whole thing. I started in the children's room, was a branch manager for a while, and I've been head of the circulation department for about 12 years. And we went with Spark, I think back in 2017, right? And I used, I think, maybe 3 different ILS systems in those years leading up to Spark. And we love Spark. And I love Spark. And I have some new people that will be starting. And that's always great because we get to train them on Spark. And I was telling Catherine how easy it is. It's so user-friendly. I have a procedure manual that we hardly ever even open. So that's a little bit about me. And next we'll move on to just reviewing our previous meeting. Our last meeting we had was in November, and we were going over the 3.11? We went live, I think, the day after our meeting. So some of the things that we talked about there was saying goodbye to our traditional catalog. Our search suggestions with "Did you mean" started. We had updates to our local administrating platform there that has now added patrons with negative balances that we can do, cash reports we can do from that, and stat class for items and patrons. And the last note I have was we also were able now to do customizable penalties and renewals. So how's everybody liking the 3.11? Good. I guess if you had problems, we would hear about it. So for today's meeting, I'm going to be talking about some things that you can find in local admin, and I'm calling that the Friday fix. I do realize that everybody wants to be doing these things on a Friday, so you can call it whatever you want, but it's the stuck in transit and the hopeless holds. So those reports, and I don't know if we can call them reports, but you can get them through the local admin, and I will run those every Friday, and that just keeps me on top of that list. And I have it set up that we can do a brief demonstration on that. This is how I do it, and it's funny because, again, with Spark, as you use it, you learn new things. Just preparing for this meeting, I tried some different things to see, how they work, and I've learned some new things that I can do when I go to do these again. So without further ado, I can go ahead and share my screen so we can do these step-by-steps. And I think I just say share the screen down here, right, guys?
Yep.
Okay.
You should be able to. And if you can't, just let me know and I can give you the permission.
Let's go to. Okay. So here I have the outline of today's meeting. We recapped what we did in our last meeting, and now we'll move on to the focus of the meeting being the Friday fix. Rescuing the stranded, that would be things that are stuck in transit, and defeating the dormant, those would be the things that are considered hopeless holds. So let me bring up. So here is a little more detail as to how we would go through the process. Starting navigating at the home page and then going through, and I'll demonstrate this, but we'll then choose the transit list. and we'll create 2 of those because we'll want one of the items that are in transit to our library and the ones that are in transit from our library. And we can choose what dates we want that to look at. And then we can print it as well. So I think my issue is if I want to share my screen, it's asking me to pick what I want here.
Yeah.
So
So
if
you can,
go ahead.
yeah, you can pick a window or you can pick your whole screen so that you don't have to, like, you can easily move between different windows.
Okay. So that would be the one that just says screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share that.
Yep.
And then I think I should be able to just do this, right?
Yep. If you just minimize it and then
Yeah.
bring us over to the staff client or wherever you're going next.
Oh, yeah. So what I wanted to show you is in here, I will go into our local admin. And then I'll choose the transit list. And so here's where we would create 2. We would want transit 2, and this is my library. And then it would be the start date and the end date. I like to just keep it a year out. And then I always make the end date a few days before because the time it takes for something to travel, some of these were just put in transit yesterday. And it may take 3 days for it to get to us because it has to go to a branch before it goes to us. So if it's at, say, our Southside branch of Bethlehem, it'll go to the main branch of Bethlehem. And then from the main branch of Bethlehem, it'll come to us. And if it's going to our Palmer branch, then it will need to go to the Palmer branch. So that could take 4 to 5 days. So I usually back this up like a week. I'm going to just back it up to the 1st. So then you can see here, and I don't know if you guys are seeing this, so I'm going to minimize it. There we go. So you'll see here, these are the items that right now are stuck in transit. This is the source of where they were going from, and they're all coming to this destination, but they have not made it here yet, and they're still in transit. This is the date that they were sent. So you can see some of these are quite old, and some of these are fairly new. What I do at this point is I will usually go ahead and print the full grid. And when I do that, I'll show you here, I saved it. I'll print it out like this. And I know not everybody wants to work on paper, so I'm sure that you can save it in another way. But what I do, I work on paper and I print it out. And then let me minimize that. What I do then is I will select all of them and add to a bucket. And then you can choose which bucket. I have one named Friday Fix. I've already added those, so I don't want to add them again. And I'll tell you why I add them. This is the thing that I learned that was new. I never did add to a bucket before. I tried it when I was testing it to give this demonstration. And I noticed when you do that, what happens when you go to the item buckets, and I'll find the one that I did, I am now getting a call number and a location. And if you see when I do my printout, the call number and the location are not on here. And that's important for being able to track it down. So now that I've put it into a bucket, I can get that information and then I copy that information onto my sheet. Once I have all the information in one spot on my paper, then I would go through and look for each item in the location that it is supposed to be. Sometimes I'll look somewhere else too, because you never know if it's just in the wrong spot. But in the end, if it is not found, I will contact the source library in an email and just say, hey, check your shelves, see if one of these things are there. If they are, please check them in. That will cancel the transit, or it will initiate it to actually generate the slip and go to where it's supposed to go. I guess when we do this, as I said, there's 2 different ones. So then we'll choose from our library. And again, oops.
And Betty, you can also add those fields to this page if you
Oh,
go to the manage your
right.
columns.
Oh,
Yes.
love it. So
Yeah.
there we
So
go.
that makes your life a little bit easier.
Then you don't even have to go into another area. All you need to do is
Yeah.
add the location column and the call number.
Yep. Yep. And then
Call number.
whatever information you need on there. Yep.
Right. So then it all ends up in one, and then there you have it.
then-
You don't even
Yep.
have to go into a bucket.
Yep.
Thank you. See,
Yeah.
I'm learning every day. I should have
Yeah,
known
that's why
that,
we
but
do
that's
it.
okay.
Mhm.
So this is great. You print it off, you save it however way you want. You track those items down throughout your library. If you can't find them, then you contact the library. Let me save this. Where it was meant to go, it's possible, you know, that it made its way there, but they didn't check it in. So it's still in transit, even though it's on their shelf. So again, it's the same process. You go through them and you just make sure that that if you don't find them, that you contact the library where they were the source of or the destination of to see if they can find them. I do this every Friday. I'm just sorry, people. I'm just trying to come back into the Zoom meeting and not share my screen. So if I can figure out how to do that.
You're trying to unshare your screen.
Oh, right. Oh, I got to go.
At the top, it should be like a bar at the top of your screen where
Yes.
you.
Oh,
I think I
see.
can also do it for you, but
If you don't mind, I'm not sure. There we are. Thank
yeah.
you. That's what kept me up last night. Knowing I was doing this meeting and not knowing how to work Zoom and sharing my screen, but we're good. So
You're doing
any
great.
questions? I see someone's asking, can you just print the bucket? But now we learned we won't need a bucket to do this. You just need to have everything you need on that screen. So if I was using the bucket to get myself to the call number and the location, because it's a lot quicker than trying to look each one up. But now with the help of our users, we know we can just change the location, the columns to add those. So no need to use a bucket. Any other questions about the stuck in transit? This has really, really been helpful for our library because there are times when on that list, you'll see a misscan. So it'll say, you know, maybe a 5-digit barcode with a library that we don't resource share with. So I'm aware that this thing that's stuck in that transit is not a real transit. It is a misscan, and I can just go in and immediately cancel that transit, and that cleans that up. So since I've been doing this on a weekly basis, it really is a very small list. There are those few that are pretty old on there. I should probably go in and cancel those transits. And I think that's the proper procedure, correct? We would just cancel those and then I could change them to 10 missing or something.
Yeah, so if they're your items, you can cancel the transit. And that was my question was, what do you do when you don't find the item? And it sounds like you mark the item as missing, which is great. If you do have those transits that are from non-resource sharing partners, please let us know and we will check the item in or let the owning library know that it's a misscan so that it doesn't stay in a status of canceled transit for them. And then they aren't able to use the item. So we do have a few libraries that have shorter barcodes, and that does kind of happen often with a partial barcode scan. So just let us know at support, and we will get them home where they need to be. Or if you want to call the library that owns the item, they can check it in at their location as well.
Okay, so canceled transit will stay canceled transit until it's checked in again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
and then it kind of sits in a limbo and you can't put holds on it or anything like that. So it does kind of puts it in a limbo of inactivity. So thank you.
Thank you. So the next order that of business that I do on Fridays as well. I have a folder and one side says stuck in transit, the other side says hopeless holds. And every Friday I go into the local admin and I run these and I keep the list very short. So I can demonstrate how that is. We'll go back to share my screen and we'll go to this again. There we go. So back here, we'll demonstrate going into the local admin, and this would be defeating the dormant, the hopeless holds, the holds that are not being filled. So hopeless holds is right here. I click on that. And now I choose the pickup library. So I do two lists again. I do one for the main, and then we also have a Palmer branch that I would do that for as well. So from here, I would change the dates. It always goes back it looks like 10 years. So I'm fine with that. But I would change this to the 1st again, just to have some symmetry between the two lists. And I'm not surprised, most of these in here are for our catalog department who has placed holds on items. I'm gonna open this up. And the collection development, when they're looking for stuff on the shelf, they'll place copy level holds on things to try and get them upstairs. And sometimes those holds just never get filled because they're not here. But we do have one on this list that is a true hopeless hold. And I would go into the patrons account with this link here. And then I would look into that hold that we were looking at, this exploration kit, and find out more details about why it's not being filled. Sometimes it's another library has put it into the temp missing. This one is in the lost status. There's no other ones that are going to fill the hold for them. So it's just going to remain in that lost status. So what I do at that point is contact the patron and then explain to them the situation. Sometimes it's an item that we can get from another library for them. Sometimes it's an item that's in repair and they wish to stay in the hold queue, hoping that when it's done being repaired, they can retrieve it. In most cases, we end up canceling the hold because of the fact that they won't be able to get it, and then request they open an interlibrary loan instead. Okay, I found the stop share button that time, guys. I'm so happy. Okay. These things I think are very simple. I do them on a weekly basis. So if you're not doing them, even on a monthly basis, when you go to do it, it's going to probably seem overwhelming because it's going to be pretty large and there's going to be a lot of things to try and figure out where they're coming from, where they're supposed to go, whose hold is this for, why is it not being filled. But once you get accustomed to doing it on a regular basis, that list is going to be pretty small. You saw there was only one person in our hopeless holds for the ones that were to be picked up at the main branch. And that is because I am doing that on a regular basis. Any questions? Is there anyone else who is doing these on a regular basis, and are they seeing the list staying very controllable? Well, if you're not doing it, I would suggest you give it a try, because you may notice a lot of things are in there that you weren't aware that they had never made it to their destination, or they had never made it to the patron. Not all those patrons are calling us saying, where is my item? They're just waiting. They're just waiting. And, you know, we don't want 6 months to go by with them waiting for a book about a trip that they took 3 months ago. So I like to clean that up. So I see someone here did say that they do hopeless holds on Mondays each week and the in transit twice a month, every other week. That is great. That is good that you have it on a reoccurring basis. I think, like I said, I do mine on Fridays. But I know that I'm not going to get to it every Friday. There's Fridays where I'm off because I have to work a Saturday or I took a vacation day. And that means, maybe 2 weeks goes by and it's a little longer. But I do appreciate having at least some set schedule that I'm trying to stick to.
I do want to add that there are additional reports that you can run in the full reporter for hopeless holds. If you're not in resource sharing agreements, you might not notice some things on there, because sometimes the software will be like, oh, but there are other copies that could fill the holds. But if you're not resource sharing with anyone else, you're never going to have access to those. So we do have some in the full reporter if you're interested in those. And you can even look at holds that have just been sitting for a really long time. I forget what somebody recently called them, but it was a really funny name. If I remember, it was kind of just like, I don't know if it was lingering or just like, it was a funny name. So it was just holds that were just sitting there for a really long time. And you can also review those too. If you're noticing you're not seeing a lot in the hopeless holds, we can build reports for you as well to fine tune finding holds that haven't been filled. But it is a good practice because people kind of, yes, languishing, that was it. And I thought that was a great use of the word. Just you want to make sure that your holds get filled. That's the goal. So I think this is a great practice, Betty. Thanks for sharing it.
Great. Go ahead.
Two things I wanted to mention. One of them is if you do cancel a transit, don't delete the item while it's in canceled transit status, because it will become a zombie transit and appear in your transit list forever. If that does happen, we can have it deleted. We can have it undeleted and change the status and delete it again. But it's best not to delete things that are in a transit or canceled transit status. And the other thing, and we'll be talking about this more on Thursday at the ILL meeting, is the collection development aspects of things like hopeless holds. So, is it just, if you've got 4 holds on something that's in repair, do you want to buy another copy? Or just looking at those things that are if they're languishing, is it a something where you can remedy it by purchasing an extra copy or 2? So that thinking about it holistically, if you will, is always helpful.
That is great, Kate. Thank you. I'm very appreciative about the canceled transit. I haven't done that yet. I mean, I did do the canceled transit for ones that were not our library, and I'll know in the future to make sure you guys are aware when I do that. But I haven't done any canceled transits on items that are in transit for like over a year. But I'm thinking that I'd want to do that, but I will make sure that I get you guys involved when I do that, so that we're not deleting them as well.
Well, and if you do have any of those, if you do see any, if you're looking at your transit list and any of them don't look like things that you really would really have passed through your library, especially if it's a shorter barcode, do let us know. And we're working with our libraries that have those shorter barcodes to, rebarcode items with longer barcodes, and we've started requiring it for libraries that are migrating in to have the longer barcodes. Because if you have a 5-digit barcode, it's pretty easy for the barcode scanner to just grab the last 5 digits of the ISBN or of the barcode, and then suddenly you've created a transit to, I'm not going to pick on anybody in particular, but to a library that you wouldn't normally send things to. So yeah, we do recommend that. And certainly you can contact the library directly. I don't discourage that, but we're always happy to handle it on our end, and then also let the library know, because we have contacts for everybody. So we're happy to do those.
And just a shameless plug for reports, because I love reports. You can run reports on any items in your collection on any status. So if you want to see things that are in a status of canceled transit, or if you want to see things that are lost or missing or claims returned or claims never checked out, all of those fun statuses that, will prevent an item from being holdable and circulatable. If you want to clean those up for reading purposes, or collection development purposes, we can always help you with that as well.
You have templates for that under Hales Davis?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. It's usually for by copy status, list of items by copy status. The ones that are a little bit more complicated are the claims returned and claims never checked out, since everybody kind of uses slightly different workflows on them. Just let me know what you need and I can tell you which template to use.
Oh, this is all great advice. Thank you so much. I love running reports when they run. So if Elizabeth Davis built it, I don't have to worry. I can just run it. Thank you so much. I will be looking at that.
Yes, we have a complicated relationship with the complicated or full reporter because it's very powerful, and so we love that we can get anything out of it that we need to, but sometimes getting what you need when you can get anything, it's time consuming. So we appreciate the efforts of Elizabeth and everybody on the reports committee who is meeting this afternoon, I believe, to make sure that we have access to good templates. 2 p.m. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, for our defeating the dormant and rescuing the stranded, I think that we have gone over all and learned some new things while doing that. So moving on, I'm just going to open up the floor to any other topics or concerns. I want to make mention there was a request by Elizabeth for a paper application to share with other libraries, and somebody made a request as to if there would ever be a possibility that we would move to electronic signatures. This is something that I would be interested in because before we went to Spark, the system that we were at before had the ability to have a photo and an electronic signature. And I was so close to getting those cameras on our computers and not having paper cards anymore because we were going to do it and we were investigating it. And then, the big people who make all the decisions came down and said, we're moving to Spark, which I am not regretting in any way. It's wonderful, but I was that close to having electronic signatures. Do we know if that is something that would be possible at any point in time coming soon?
So I know you can do photos. You do need to have a repository. So you need to have somewhere that you are going to store them. We cannot store them for you. So you would take the photo and then link it in the catalog, in the patron record with that URL that it's assigned. So if it's a local server or something like that. The electronic signature I have not seen, but let me look and see if there's anything in the bug tracker. 1 second.
Oh yeah, there may be a bug for that, a wish list bug for that. I know that what some libraries do is they scan the paper applications so they don't have to maintain the paper files. So it's not an electronic signature, but then and you could do something similar where you're linking it with a URL or you're using a statistical category to denote that you do have that scan signature on file. So that's available in the existing functionality. Spoiler alert, I'll be announcing this formally next week at the big users group meeting, but we are in the early stages of implementing a pilot with an electronic card registration service called Kipu. And one of the options that they have is you would click to agree to a library specific policy. And so I haven't even begun to consider whether or not how the legal implications of whether or not that counts as an electronic signature. What we'll be piloting is a standard implementation of that. So like it would be the same for everybody. So the libraries that use it would have to agree on what they want the applying users to agree to. But there will be options in the future for libraries to, if they want a custom implementation, to do that as an add-on. So there are going to be more options for that in the future. And it is, if anybody wants to look it up, it's called Quipu, Q-U-I-P-U. So there will, because we're in the early stages, I don't know what all will be available, but there will be some options for agreeing to acceptable use kinds of things. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Well, that is all great. This is what I love about Spark. It's not like you just get what you get from day one, and you know, it can change over time. And if you need something, you just ask. And over time, you guys work on making that happen. So thank you. And that again was QUIP.
Yeah, Elizabeth's linked their website in the
Oh, I
chat
see.
as well.
Great.
And
Thank
so
you.
what we'll be doing at the users group meeting next week is we'll be hearing from some of the libraries that use this software platform, as well as some of our libraries. We're going to be talking generally about driving library card signups, so partnerships with school districts, batch loading cards, as well as seeing the way that one of the librarians from the Georgia Pines Consortium is going to give us a quick demonstration of the way their library card application works through Quipu. So we'll we're about 6 months out from having anybody in the pilot, and the pilot will need to be small at the beginning. But it's supported through our funding through the Office of Commonwealth Libraries from the Library Service and Technology Act. We could not do the things we do without that support. So it's like the baby steps part of it. But that is gonna be a really powerful tool for our libraries.
Okay, is there any other concerns that anyone wants to address? I did already schedule the next meeting for June 4th. I want to thank everyone for holding off in February and waiting until March. And this worked out well for the user group meeting, so that was good. But then in 3 months, we're going to be in the beginning of June. June 4th is a Tuesday. I know that the beginning of June is a little crazy for people with summer reading, so hopefully we can get some attendance, and I'll be working on and reaching out to people on a topic for that meeting coming up in the next few weeks.
And we record them too. So if it's a day that
Yeah,
don't, summer is a popular time at libraries, which I love. But it also makes it hard to schedule other stuff.
Hi, can I just, Linda Krasinski from Pike County Public Library. If I can just ask a question, so maybe I could better understand claims items returned. I'm being told when the item is in that status, it's holdable. A patron can place a hold on it.
Yes, claims return marks the fines as claims return, so it stops accruing fines, but it's still checked out to their account, so it's still holdable by other patrons.
But it's checked out under the other tab. It's not checked. It's on that other tab, claims items returned. It's not under the checkout tab, correct?
It's on special and other circulations. So
Right.
it's in a special sort of checked out status, essentially.
Right. But when you when you have that issue when the patron claims the item is returned and I don't have it on the shelf, okay, it's nowhere. So it actually should, I would think, not accept a hold because the items can't be found.
Correct. So there are a few workflows. Some libraries use this. I'm going to call out Lackawanna because this is the one I know the best. So I'm sorry, Brianna. So for claims returned in Lackawanna, they have a report that runs every day. They have 3 reports that run every day. It looks for items that were claims returned yesterday, 15 days before, and 30 days before. After the 30 days, after they've looked for it for 30 days, they mark the item as missing or lost. I'm sorry. They mark the item as lost. The item is billed to the patron because they were notified when they checked out the item and they were told, or when they said, hey, I returned this. They tell the patron, hey, we're acknowledging that you said you returned it. We're going to look for it for 30 days. If we do not find it, it is still ultimately your responsibility and you will be charged the cost of the replacement of the item. Now, I know not everybody does this, so the claims return does have some flexibility. Some people did make changes recently to their claims returned where when a patron says, hey, I definitely returned that, and you mark it as claims returned, what'll happen is it will go from checked out to a status of missing. It no longer is holdable. It will not fill holds, but it will stay checked out on their account under that special circulation tab. So you can still see it. And then if you ever find it, you just check it in and it comes off their account.
So you said that goes to a missing, you change.
We can set it to go to missing if you would prefer that workflow.
I can change it to missing?
I can change it to missing for you.
So if you want to change individual items to missing, like if some libraries,
No, but right.
but if you want,
we use claims items return as a courtesy.
Mhm.
Okay, we've asked that, you check home, we will check where we need to check. And then as a courtesy, we'll say, okay, you claims it was returned, that's how we'll mark it on the account. But I like that history because then I could find out if a patron is, constantly, if it's
Mhm.
habitual, so.
frequent flyer.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we're not gonna charge them, but I want that history. But I don't want to make it holdable for anybody else.
Okay.
So then I would have to give you those items to do missing.
So
No, what we'll
anybody who wants all their claims return stuff to not be holdable, if you want automatically when you put it on claims returned, you want it not to be holdable, submit a support ticket and tell us that, and we can
Okay.
change it for your location.
Oh, thank you very
If you
much.
want to handle, we have lots of libraries where they want to handle it item by item, and that's totally fine, and then you can manage it locally. But for both claims returned and claims never checked out, we can make some back-end changes on how those are handled. So
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, so you just, if you want them to not be holdable, you just need to let us know.
But yet it will stay on the patron's account under claims returned as a history for me. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I think for the way the default used to be when I was at Altoona was that if you put it in claims returned, it stayed in the checked out status, which meant that it could still have holds. That was how it, like, if you pulled it up in the catalog, you could see it in the catalog, like you could search for the item, you could see it in the catalog. From the patron side. And so we can set what status it puts it in. So if it puts it in missing, then it still stays in that other special circulations, but then in all other ways it behaves like any other missing item. And that's that was one that we learned relatively recently, or maybe it was recent development that we learned how to change it per library instead of for the whole consortium. So thank you, Linda, for mentioning that, because that's something we're happy to remind people that we can change for them.
Thank you for that explanation. Greatly appreciated.
Wow, that's great. I'm so glad to hear about all these new things. That's how we learn about them, coming to these meetings. This is just like open discussion. Somebody mentions something that they're having an issue with, and we find out there's a way that we could all solve these problems. Thank you. I have nothing more to add. If anyone has anything else they'd like to add or any questions, you can put them in the comments. Otherwise, I think I'll be seeing some of your faces, I think, in the reports meeting later today.
All right, I'll stop the recording.